In the spring of 2020, many of our usual hobbies were put on hold by the lockdown, but Paul Anderson came up with an idea. Games of Countdown played on webcam over the rapidly rising video call program Zoom and released for public viewing. Over 8 months later, ZoomDown has completed its second series and is as popular as ever. This is the story of how it began and how it evolved. This is the making of ZoomDown, behind the scenes.
$90-62, tremendous effort there. Paul, final letters game. And Jamie?
Just a 7.
And your 7 is?
Putties.
Now then, Paul.
Pretties, as in my pretties.
Exactly. Excellent. Really good 8.
Just 1 large, please.
1 large, and you want a safe one here to put you over the line, I'm sure. 5. And the target, 766.
766. Yes, Jamie.
765, not written down.
765, Paul.
766, I think.
Paul.
75 minus 5.
75 minus 5, 70.
4 plus 7.
Is 11.
Multiply them.
770.
And take off the 4.
And you've won yourself a crucial conundrum. Well done.
Whoa, well done. Paul Anderson.
Chapstick.
Let's see whether you're right. Amazing. Let's roll another crucial countdown conundrum. Jamie.
Decanting.
Let's see whether you're right. What a game this is. Wow, well done, Jamie. Oh, Paul. Oh, I sort of broken-hearted. Paul, you played such a great series.
Thank you very much.
6 wins. Rachel.
Yeah, what a shame. And for the first time, Paul didn't even light up the clock when he got that conundrum.
Amazing.
And unfortunately, because we already have 8 Octo champs, even with such a high score, we won't be seeing Paul in the finals. So it's a cruel blow from Jamie over there, the human dictionary.
Well, I was kind of gutted. I suppose I was still getting over my defeat to Jamie. The phone rang and they said, Paul, do you want to be the standby contestant for Series 81? And I went, sure, no problem.
Went down for a few days and watched Luke filming his Octo run and James Horton's finals.
Luke played all throughout the Monday. The first game of the Tuesday, and then Nick came to me, how are you feeling, James? And I was a bit too honest with my answer, really. I just said half excited and half shitting it, which described my thoughts accurately.
And yeah, it was really good. Got to meet loads of Aptorites, made some good friends, and still friends now. So yeah, great time.
Afterwards, I remember us all gathering outside for a group photo of the Elvises. I had just nicknamed Luke the Kilobyte.
I was wearing a sort of light blue sea green jumper. I remember that quite closely, and I was crouching down like a monkey or something.
I can remember meeting outside the studio with James Horton and Luke. He'd just done his preliminaries.
We all went to this place called The Alchemist, which was this really fancy place on the river in Salford. And it was a gorgeous evening. It was a beautiful evening. The sun was shining.
We had a great meal out afterwards, quite expensive, but you get what you pay for. Somebody who wouldn't like me to mention spent £40 on one drink. This massive, big cocktail thing, smoke coming all out the top of it. Quite a bit of spectacle, but it tasted horrible.
Yes, we did go to The Alchemist. The memories are a little hazy, but there were a lot of cocktails consumed.
The last stragglers were myself, Fiona, and Luke, and we ended up getting pissed on really expensive cocktails that night. It was great fun.
That's right, we had quite a mellow talk, didn't we?
You know, it was worth it just for the social opportunities. Like, you know, the conversation flowed really nice there were some really nice people.
Definitely one of the highlights of the back end of that year for me. Not that there were many.
Just a 5.
Which is?
Altar.
You're 7, Jason.
Natural.
Natural, you are. Natural.
Thank you, Paul.
There was a 9. I'm guessing some people in chat might have got it, but we could have had granulates for a 9.
Okay, so Callum.
7.
And Rob.
Probably my time to push it too far, but I think 8.
Okay, Callum, you're 7.
All right.
And Rob.
Dooderies.
Dooderies, Susie.
Yes, dooderies. This was a fairly new one on me. Yeah, doodery is the same as dudism, which I did know, and that's just the quality of being a dude. So, strictly speaking, I'm not sure how often you're going to find dooderies, but it is in the dictionary, and it's really good for 8. Well done.
Very well played, Rob. Very good. Very well played. My first Zoom experience was on Saturday the 21st of March 2020. Our sort of non-countdown mates. And they had asked, what's this whole Zoom thing? Can we do a Zoom thing? We haven't had a chat in a little while. And I remember thinking, this Zoom application is brilliant. It just seems to be like you have a built-in director that sort of changes the camera for you. And I thought, there's something very cool about this. I remember a massive stream of consciousness in the Elvis chat where I basically just poured out my thoughts. I'm sure you all thought I was a little crazy.
Well, I think you were talking about playing games on Zoom. I'm not sure it had a name at that point. And yeah, we all thought it was a good idea and did our pilot episode, and it became ZoomDown.
Paul came up with the idea during the COVID countdown void.
Hey, let's play Countdown on a live stream, but we don't have a fancy name for it yet. I mean, did we call it ZoomDown at that point? We probably did.
March 29th, when a post went up from Ashwin saying, wouldn't it be good to play like a co-event over Zoom? Then there was a discussion about it.
I think Ashwin said on Facebook that he wanted to do a countdown over Zoom. And I said, well, I've already ordered a whiteboard. So my whiteboard was on the way at the time.
Paul Anderson mentioned that there was a ZoomDown, which was countdown on the internet, which sounded good. The fact that you could watch even more countdown than you do normally with players that you'd seen before sounded great.
Paul and Callum were discussing the possibility of live streaming a game, like you're discussing, like putting it on a YouTube channel. I thought this sounds quite interesting.
Just surfing YouTube one day, I found live ZoomDown on YouTube, and I thought, yeah, I like Countdown. I like YouTube. I like watching Countdown on YouTube. Stands to reason.
So I was browsing the Countdown wiki one day, and I'd seen that someone had put up a new page about ZoomDown, which I thought, well, this sounds interesting. It sounds like Countdown, but more or less the same as well, Countdown, except we play it on Zoom.
I remember tuning in for the first one, with kind of a few technical issues, but you could see already like how it had potential.
I can't remember what I did 10 minutes ago, to be honest.
One of the original pilots or something where I looked at the video and there's Paul Anderson drawing up the letters on the board, and I thought, what's the point of this? Actors already exists. And then about a week or so later, I thought, let's see what's going on with ZoomDown. And of course, then we've got the chat on the side, so everyone's taking part at the same time. And I thought, okay, this is actually quite fun. This is getting quite popular, and I've watched most episodes since then.
I was quite late to the party. I think it was about episode 10. So I had some fun then watching back the old episodes and catching up.
People seem to be on a little bit of a high for the next few days. It does seem to perk them up. Regarding my appearance, guess we'll have to wait and see. I've got Zubair and then a special guest. Who knows who that special guest may be?
No, I think I was one of the first to know about it. Just throw my name forward, have a go, but I've lost every time, so...
And I always wanted to have a go. I was still desperate to have a go on Countdown. I'm just terrified I'll come up against an Elliot or a Luke or a Paul, you know. And yeah, I watched a little bit of it, and then I wanted to have a go on it. It was just brilliant. I didn't do very well, but it was great.
Hey, Countdown champs.
Though it was initially set up to fill the void left by the absence of new Countdown episodes on television, ZoomDown continued to thrive after Countdown returned to our screens. So what was ZoomDown providing that the new Countdown episodes weren't?
This is quite surreal, I've got to be honest, but I'm very, very excited about it.
The main differentiator between ZoomDown and Countdown, certainly when ZoomDown started, was that ZoomDown could be played when the country was in lockdown, and Countdown couldn't, none of the co-events could. And so everyone flocked to ZoomDown. That's where all the countdown's happening now.
Everyone kind of knows each other pretty well. So there's definitely a lot more kind of familiarity and camaraderie, whilst also it still kind of preserves the kind of integral part of the game. It's like kind of taking a bit, almost the best of both.
It's more pure in a way, because it's sort of just been done for sort of the love of it. It's fun in that, every game should be tight, that it can always go down to a crucial conundrum.
The fact that it's live is obviously a big thing.
ZoomDown, it's a lot harder than Countdown. When I was on Countdown, I had some very easy opponents. ZoomDown, the standard is so high. It's just, it's more similar to a co-event.
Picking multiple letters at one point, at any one time. That's a big difference to televised Countdown. The fact we don't have glamorous assistants doing the writing on the whiteboard, although Paul Anderson probably forgive me for saying, well, will probably not forgive me if I don't say he is glamorous in his own way.
The chat as well. I think that's a big asset of ZoomDown. Without the chat, I don't think it would be the same programme at all.
This policy that Paul Anderson thought up, that if you go on the show, you're going to play someone of around the same skill level as you. You're not going to get someone winning by 100 points like you might see on Countdown.
A lot more, I would say, really tight 50-50 games. One of my big complaints about the 15-round format in general is that if you have a one-sided contest, it can be really one-sided, almost painful to watch, like watching a lion in having broken into a sheep's field. You just want it to stop, but it keeps going.
A few of the people I played against, I had a friendly chat with, and some of them were quite good sports about it, but a few of them really didn't enjoy playing me. Whereas everyone I've played on ZoomDown, they're a friend, so...
I mean, the relaxing side of it certainly really helped me. I mean, win or lose, you're going to have a good time. And the fact that you're also up against players of equal abilities means that you're going to get good matches. There's no risk that, you're going to get an absolute whitewash on there when somebody's going to go away feeling embarrassed or ashamed of themselves.
For me personally, not being one of the elite, I think the best thing about it is that you put the people against people that they can actually take on.
This series, people who got 6 maxes in their games had a 50% win rate. The same is true for people who got 12 maxes. Now that suggests that the pairing is spot on. Whatever your skill level, you're going to play someone who you have a chance of beating.
It's live, so it means that you can watch it at the same time as other people and you can play along. Somebody that's on the production crew might mention that, someone in the chat got this word and, that's an interesting word, let's look it up. So there's more time because the show doesn't have to fit a certain length.
You can be like, there was a ridiculous 8. Did anyone spot? Oh, yeah, of course, Toby and Hazel did in the chat, right? You get a game between 2 weaker contestants on TV and all of that gets missed, but on ZoomDown it doesn't because there's a live chat, there's people playing along, there's always that mouse guy annoyingly being like, I had a 7.
ZoomDown has a lot more freedom than Countdown to innovate and to be irreverent if it wants to, so it's great to have that freedom, that they can have the bit more banter. Later, the chat gets kind of incorporated into it, where you go to the chat every now and then, and that's great as well, that you have that live interactive feel to it. So it's really using the medium of YouTube to its maximum potential, I think.
The host is, slightly better looking, perhaps. I mean, Nick never really was my type.
It's interesting that Colin's taken over Countdown because now, we have a sort of Northern Irish host who gets a lot of comments that he talks quite a bit.
It's good that it's actually got its own music.
Yeah, I think the music in ZoomDown is inspired.
It's grown on me over time, and I quite like the way it's got that kind of 15-second noise, and then it gets a bit more dramatic, doesn't it?
A friend of mine asked me to send him the ZoomDown music if I had a copy. He described it as the theme tune of 2020.
I actually think it's more enjoyable for particularly the Countdown enthusiasts to watch ZoomDown.
Got to a champs and series finals, over the span of 10, 11 games, you start to learn something about them. But in ZoomDown, you get that in the first 10 minutes. It's more social, and I think that's probably why it succeeded in this year of all years, because that's what we've all sort of been missing out on a bit. So ZoomDown has helped to fill that void as well as the Countdown void.
Hey, fingers crossed.
ZoomDown has been successful in part because it is more focused on the players than Countdown. These are the experiences of those players.
Fingers crossed.
Woo!
Excellent.
Wow. Woo! That was amazing. Well done.
Jesus Christ.
We like that. That was amazing.
Getting to play Jonathan Rawlinson again, despite being away from the community so long, his sort of talent at the game was very obvious.
Come to think of it now, 2 of my 3 ZoomDown games have been against my TV opponents now, because I've obviously since played George on the telly. But yeah, that was the second ever ZoomDown game was me v George. Then I played Bradley, and despite like horribly fudging a declaration, I still managed to lose on the crucial because you gave me a ridiculous conundrum that like no one knew the answer to.
I've only had one contestant appearance, which was the very first game where I played George, who's also my most commonly played opponent on Actress.
I don't remember too much from that first game against Fiona and then against Mouse in the follow-up. I do remember a couple of the words I missed, and I never forget them nowadays. Pegasid and Auto Wines.
We hadn't really got a structure at that point. It was really just a demo game. Hadn't really worked out the technicals at that point. And pinning and things like that was all a bit of a mystery. So I think, you know, we've improved a lot since then. And if you actually go back and watch that game, it's a world of difference between what we're doing now.
I was on ZoomDown, and I'm probably one of the few people who hasn't been on the TV show and doesn't play Countdown a lot on any of the apps. So I liked being on ZoomDown. I loved the fact that I was chatting to people like Paul, but I kind of feel like I chat to Paul twice a week.
I've had more appearances than most, I think. 2 different specials, and I've appeared in both series.
It won't surprise anyone to hear that I absolutely love being on ZoomDown. I never expected to even win 1 game, and to win 3 and get to the finals was amazing. A few days before I was on the finals, I was listening to all this like pumped up music, getting myself really up for it, walking down the street, pretending like I was training for like this massive like Rocky style fight or something.
I love my ZoomDown appearances.
I was on ZoomDown in series 1. I think it was like episode 5 or 6, something like that. Gives me a chance to crack out my my countdown paraphernalia, which I've done again today, which I know some people think is cringeworthy. But what I especially loved in the first episode was that it was before you had like the roles defined, and I was doing the dictionary corner bit, which meant I got to crack out my massive dictionary, which hasn't really gotten any use before or since. So I was very grateful for that. So
because it's a live show, you can't stop and re-record any unsavoury words that come up. The very first word that I got in Dictionary Corner was cuntier.
Similar to a co-event. Really good crack. I loved having to come up with something in Dictionary Corner. Root Shakespearean words. I think that was what I chose.
Absolutely loved it. Helped by the gin on the second part, of course. But it was... You can stop chuckling, Mark.
I was nervous before the start. As you know, I'm not up in the same league as a lot of the players.
I got millipeed right on the 30 seconds, and then I went on to the next round. I lost dreadfully in the next one, but it was so much fun.
When I was actually on, it was nice sort of knowing that you're only playing people of a similar rating.
Sat at home with a cup of tea in your hand, not having to worry about booking time off work or anything like that.
I'm very lucky that I get the immediate feedback of those who've just been involved. I have a string of beautiful, lovely messages of people saying they had a great time, and we've had a 100% satisfaction rate, and that's something that really warms my heart.
I think I appeared kind of quite late in the first series, so I had like quite a bit of anticipation, kind of watching everyone else play.
Got a message, I think the Monday before the Thursday, saying, you're on the list of ZoomDown, do you want to play? Yes, please. I've got a few days to prepare. What do? I know. I'll stick a thing on the wall saying, put interesting background here. And went through the game. I knew before that if I beat Ian Volante, I'd be playing Connor. So I thought, well, okay, fair enough. I'm probably only going to be here today then.
Yeah, I played, I think, Graham. I played Jack Hurst in a rematch. I played Tom Chafer-Cook, and then I lost my 4th game to Callum.
Thought I was getting fed to Connor, but somehow managed to come through that. It turned out to be a bit of a Icarus moment because I then lost my next game.
But managed to come back for the series finals, kind of two crucials in the semi, and a crucial in the final. I think like the semi-final was kind of like especially intense. It was like probably the game I enjoyed the most. I remember that was like the first semi-final of 2, and then think I needed about 2 or 3 beers just to kind of take the edge off after that. It was so intense.
There have been so many great games, very close games on ZoomDown. I think my favourite moment of the general ZoomDown thing is that Eddie Byrne numbers solved. He goes, okay, there's this times that is this, and then and Paul says, and it's reads out the answer, and Eddie goes, oh, is it? Oh, okay. Then I just added the 4. It's so blatant fudging, and Paul just looks at the camera. Thing where I then went into the chat and encouraged people to skip back on the stream to watch it again. That was fantastic.
Stephen Halford's cat.
What was the question again?
For me, the best thing about ZoomDown has been watching people grow and their personalities come out. The bloopers reel at the end of the first series was brilliant. I think that contains the Paul side-eye moment that Graham likes so much. My favourite moment throughout all of it was Elliot Miller's Dictionary Corner slot, where he talks about longevity and the analogy between living a long life and winning the lottery. I just thought that was brilliant. Like
proposing that they have actually won the genetic gold medal.
The content of
the end of this
speech he gave and the delivery of it as well. It was brilliant. It was something that would completely not be out of place on a primetime TV show. It was excellent. Came back season 2. Managed to be a Tetra champ, which is not something I ever thought I would be. I thought that would be a very rare achievement. I don't think many people would ever make that. So to be one of the few who has so far is great. And the finals again, definitely didn't think I'd get past Jack in the semi-final, but I did, and that got me on the final call with Susie, which was great.
So I had similar level of expectation going on to season 2. But somehow fought my way to become the winner of that series, with lots of crucials along the way. So it could have been a very, very different outcome.
To have your first series won by probably the greatest player of all time, Connor Travers, was just fabulous. Have your second series won by Rob Foster, who's in the top 3 of greatest players of all time. You would think, if I had scripted this and if I had fixed these events, and I had chosen the winners beforehand, I don't think I could have chosen any better winners. They've just been absolutely fantastic, and these guys are real ambassadors for our sport, and it's just felt like a dream. The whole way has just felt like one big dream.
I love the ZoomDown team. It's a real lovely little community of some of the top players that have appeared on the show, and it's really nice to feel that you get to know them through watching the ZoomDown, because obviously, you're not just seeing the contestant, the ZoomDown. Obviously, you're not just seeing the contestants and the host. You're seeing the behind-the-scenes people that are doing the other things too.
The team, I have to say, is quite unconventional. A lot of the people in there, you wouldn't think you'd find them doing that job, but in a way, it's quite charming and it's quite genuine, and that brings something quite lovable and imperfect in a likable way. It sort of instills that sort of family feel that it's made by a group of Countdown lovers rather than a group of sort of professionals in suits.
I think the ZoomDown team do a great job of making the whole process seamless. There's an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes, not just to the viewer, but the players as well. They make the contestants really feel at ease.
They must be quite incredible people to do the thing they do. If you think about how the program works and how they must make the program, you've got Paul they're running the game. That even before that, you've got to get the contestants in the room and brief them, and then you've got the overlay and the OBS streaming, and it's so much different stuff goes into it.
Just the sheer serendipity to have all these people in the group was just fabulous, and they've all been great, and they've all been unique. They've all been very different, but great in their own ways.
I'd say in the host, Paul, you've got someone who's quite, I'd say, imaginative and quite outgoing and quite ambitious. And I'd say you have his kind of personality matched with people who have quite good, I'd say, kind of general technical competence. People like Fiona, I think like kind of Callum in the beginning. Yeah, later on you have Fred and Tom also coming into the mix. And I think like the way people, and George as well, and you've just seen people able to probably push themselves a little bit out of their comfort zone.
You can have an idea yourself, but if you don't have the people around you to do it, then it's kind of pointless. But just having those excellent minds, I mean, really, really creative, technical minds, all in the one group was such a boon.
Well, I think that's very, very well run, and it gets better all the time. That it keeps on improving. Like the decision to add in the Lexing role as an official role was a great idea, and the way that you're able to do all the kind of like split screen stuff, showing all the maximums, is just great.
The whole operation, it's a bit like a swan above the water. It's so beautiful and graceful. You just get the sense that behind the scenes there's lots of chaos going on.
Bunch of cunts, a lot of them.
They're a great team. They seem to bond well. It's always nice as well where, because you don't quite know who's going to be on, every show can be slightly different, whereas obviously with most things on the TV, with hosts, it's going to be the same week on week and you know what to expect.
Love them all good friends, of course.
I don't like any of them, to be honest. No, I'm kidding.
Of the people I've seen Lexing, George would be my pick. He just seems really comfortable in the role, and also has a cheeky little joke now and then, and he's very good at that.
George, we love George. George is super reliable, and he just takes everything in his stride.
George is one of perhaps someone who might be a little bit more behind the scenes in ZoomDown, but he's definitely very important within that field. You know, whether he's preparing the Arith-nundrums or the conundrums for the show, he definitely does a lot of the work there. And, you know, just George as a person, you know, absolutely a laugh. You know, I talk with him very regularly, you know, really easy to get on with. And, yeah, the world needs a few more Georges in it, you like to think.
He's often quite funny, and, you know, he's got good banter and all of that. And it's good to just kind of just see him, you know, just really casually sat on his chair in his living room and, you know, enjoying every second. I think he loves being involved in the show, and, you know, long may that continue.
Oh, George is just super organised. Like, he is just on it, very determined, and like he's always a very safe pair of hands. Got a lot of time for George.
George is great. I do enjoy his dictionary corner stints. You know, what does that mean? And he'll look at you and say, "Don't ask me." It makes me laugh a lot, and he doesn't shy away from the rude words either. So yeah, I enjoy being on with George.
He's got crack. He's funny, but he's no nonsense, and he doesn't get phased. You know, a lot of people his age. I remember when I was his age, my face would have been bright red at the prospect of speaking in front of people. But George is he's a pride of Yorkshire. He's a fine young man.
Obviously played him on telly recently. That was my most recent George experience. Well, I mean, I guess I've zoomed on with him afterwards, so I guess it wasn't really. But it was the one that stood out. There was a time where George had like the water leak in his house, and he still kept on streaming despite that. And I thought that was pretty cool, because I'm not sure I would have handled that anywhere near as well. Knows what he's doing.
When my power cut went, George just continued on like it was 1979, like when you had lots of power cuts. It was just find a candle, light a match. That's George.
He's quite straight and genuine, and he looks like he's really enjoying the games as they're coming, and he's not just focusing on his own role.
Well, George is just George, isn't he?
The only one I will stand up for is my Series 73 fellow alumni, Tom Carey, or whatever full name he's using these days, Tom, Mouse, or Thomas. Please pick one and stick to it.
Amy at Covent's a twat. If George is, you know, the really committed, really professional athlete, and Fiona is the really smart thinker, then Mouse is definitely the rock star of ZoomDown. You just don't know what you're going to get at times. He's a bit chaos theory. He makes it so much fun.
I don't know whether or not to keep these things on.
Mouse, he's a bit chaotic at times, but love him lots. He's so funny. I think, you know, I don't know if he realises just how much humour he brings to it, but you know, we just laugh along when Mouse is streaming, you know, what he does with his overlays, and you know, the odd little asides from him make it really, really good fun.
He beat me on TV, the twat. Probably one of the most unique people I've ever met. He's got so much personality, so much, I don't know if you'd like me to say quirkiness. but he's so unique. He's brilliantly funny. He's so sharp and clever and quick.
Thomas Carey, I was a huge fan of him as a player. Loved his style. He was just he had a certain magnetism about him when you watched him on the telly, and it's the same when you watch him on ZoomDown. I mean, he can be frustrating as hell. He doesn't turn up till 2 minutes before the stream starts, and then it's like, yeah, what's the problem, everyone? Yeah, I'll catch up, and he does. 10 minutes later, he's irreplaceable and he's irrepressible, and I don't think anyone could ever change him. I think his edges are as firm as a 50p piece.
Given his penchant for being a bit tight, I would downgrade the 50p piece to a 20p piece.
Tommy's Tom, I would say. I think he's probably best described as eccentric. All the little random quirks that he has, you love him for them. You say mouse and everybody understands who you mean. He's quirky and just really lovable as a person.
The banter is one of the nice things, especially when Tom makes a mistake, like he's trying to get a conundrum up and he can't do it in time or something like that. It's one of the things I really like about ZoomDown, is just seeing him, and he just will sort of very nonchalantly say, oh yeah, I only got 2 hours of sleep, but I'm doing this anyway, let's just go.
Well, I think, from my point of view, the beauty of it is that we all bring something slightly different to it. We don't all try and do the same thing. We all do it our own way, and that's what makes it different. If I tried to be funny on the overlays, it would be awful. It would be cringy. It's like, we all do different stuff.
I do probably have to do a slight shout out to Fred, because he is pretty much my neighbour these days. He lives right across the road from me randomly.
Fred, yeah, just... I'd say a lot like Fiona in that sense, just a younger, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Student male version of Fiona, really. Both really clever, genuine, just nice people.
When he joined the team, he was quite nervous to start with, and I think he's settled into it really well. And I think having someone who's, got a real love of linguistics in Dictionary Corner is great. That really comes through. And
Fred's grown in confidence a lot since he joined the team in Series 2. And he always knows what he's doing. He's got so much love for words and language. And I genuinely believe that when Susie leaves Countdown one day, I think he could genuinely do that job and take her place and do amazing at it. He's got his own little fan club, a subsection of the Callum fan club that's just dedicated solely to him.
Lots of time for that guy. He's been great to get to know, and most of that's been because of ZoomDown.
Fred joined in season 2 as James Rowan left, and it was Fred was brilliant. His flowing locks, and he had a huge number of fans in the audience. Fred has a love of words, and he's a proper linguist, and it's great having someone who is a proper linguist. That love of words really comes across.
His sort of interest in linguistics comes through quite nicely when he's reading out the definitions. He clearly understands the phonetic spellings of the words because he can pronounce them right away just by looking at it. It's kind of like having a mini Susie Dent, I guess. He's probably going to cringe when I say that. But
good lad. Big fan of Fred. And yeah, he knows his linguistics. It's cool when he's like reading off the definitions and stuff, because he can probably pronounce some of the weird words that the rest of us all mess up.
We've got to see a lot more of Fred, and I'm in Series 2, and I'm in favour of that because I'm a big fan of Fred.
I think someone who's massively important in the development of ZoomDown was James Rowan. Fantastic voice. I think he made that role of lexicographer his own, and he set the template for how it really should be done. A great person to have in the early stages of ZoomDown, and I hope that he returns to the community someday. It's very early days for Bradley, but he had a fabulous debut, and I'll be looking forward to seeing how he develops over the next series.
Kind of sometimes feel like it's a bunch of naughty boys in a dormitory, but I'm pleased that Fiona's there to keep an eye on them.
Fiona's like everyone's mum, isn't she?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Fiona is mum and keeping all the little kids under control. She's keeping us all sort of, you can't do that, you can't do that. No, behave. Come on, let's just chill out. She's great.
Maybe she won't like it, but she's the motherly figure in the whole team, and sort of keeps a lid on things. It makes you feel like there's someone really caring, looking out for all the players. Because it can get quite intense. People can feel bad when they lose, especially.
Fiona's just been such a rock. I think everyone sees her as the mother of ZoomDown. If I'm the father, I don't know what that makes us.
Fiona's been mistaken for my mother a couple of times in the past, and she is like a mother. She's just always there if you need to talk to her. You get on really well with her. She's so easy to talk to. Yeah, Fiona's great.
She's the maternal figure. She's the one that tells us when we're messing, when we're not messing, when we need to hurry up.
We sort of contrast each other because I think our sort of presenting styles are quite different, by which I mean Fiona actually knows what she's doing, but I think we sort of worked well, like we bounced off each other quite well. So yeah, go Fiona.
Oh, I think she's an absolutely heartless. No, don't put that in the documentary. Such a lovely person. Like, you know, when you're going through life, and you know, even when you're struggling your way through life, you sometimes just meet a person who like really just seems to embody what loveliness is as a person, and I think Fiona really captures that.
She's been a real asset, I think, and you know, everyone gets on with her.
I love watching Fiona every week because I'm always wondering what part she's going to put the wrong score in. She does it once a show. I'm sorry, Fiona.
Fiona is fantastic. She's just a really calm presence, very clever, very measured, very balanced. So yeah, I think Fiona's fantastic.
She's someone that I rely heavily on. I think she's such a big part of ZoomDown. She brings the yang to my yin, if you get me, in that way. She tells me when I'm talking too much. She's all right, Paul, wrap it up. Come on, you know, we got to finish. It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, obviously big fan, especially since she recently got me a job. That's fun. Thanks, Countdown. I knew spending a decade doing this stupid hobby would be useful at some point.
She is a critical part of the show. You know, she really does help with the show's running. She, you know, without Fiona, you know, the thing would be a lot worse off if it even existed at all. And it's definitely important that she gets credit for that.
She's no nonsense, but she's good crack at the same time. And I have just a lot of time for Fiona. She's very, very important to ZoomDown.
The host would be very hard to replace because doing what Paul does with kind of keeping all the chat going and keeping the banter going, that's not an easy job. The other jobs are pretty easy though.
Paul Anderson, the host, he's sort of very sort of confident, charismatic, and it sort of comes across to everyone, makes the sort of contestants feel at ease as well.
Paul is ZoomDown, really. It's his baby. At times he can be stubborn and maybe even a little bit awkward, but I think those are the qualities that have made ZoomDown exactly what it is, and I've got a massive amount of respect and liking for him. And he's an amazing guy, and I think he's an excellent host as well.
He's basically Colin Murray, isn't he? I mean,
yeah, I think he's basically Colin Murray if you can't afford Colin Murray.
You could just sort of tell that Paul really does love Countdown, and as a host, that's something that's really important. I think I don't really want to say anything too bad about some of the hosts in the past, but it kind of seems like maybe they're not so interested in the show that they're hosting, but that's something that's very different about ZoomDown. Paul's there because he really wants to be there, and that shines through really nicely in what he does.
No, Paul's a real good character. You know, he's got tons of charisma, and you know, the show just wouldn't work if you couldn't warm to the host. But you know, you can get on with everyone.
Pains me to say it, but Paul is a very charismatic guy. He's a good host, and yeah, he brings a lot of fun and enthusiasm to the game, and that's part of the enjoyment I think that everybody has in the ZoomDown is Paul himself. Again, it pains me to say it because I don't really like him, but he is a really good host.
Paul Anderson is just fab as a host.
At times he needs to be reminded to talk just a little bit less when we're running late, but that's the charm of it. I mean, that's what makes him a brilliant host. Yeah, lots of time for Paul.
To have created something like this through the whole pandemic business is just, it's fabulous, and it's great that there's people wanting to do it. And I don't think we could have a better team to do it. I really don't, especially as you've managed to rope in Susie and Damien and everybody else to join in with it. I think it's been great.
You do put in a lot of amazing hard work, particularly you, Paul. You are quite fun hosting, even though you stood there drinking a cheeky glass of wine.
Paul is so determined. I mean, he's the driving force of the show. I don't think we'd be anywhere near where we are without him. He came up with the whole idea. And I mean, it shows that if the show can survive a move, you know, across the country to Connemara, it can survive anything. I think with Paul at the helm, it's going to keep growing, keep expanding.
Paul is a force of nature. He can come up with ideas and plans sort of all the time, and it's like you can be cynical and that, but he's not cynical about them at all. And to be fair to him, he gets a lot of stuff done. So yeah, I think Paul is a brilliant driving force for the show and a very good host as well.
ZoomDown wouldn't be the same without him, but it probably wouldn't even be a thing without him because he's put so much time and effort into like developing pretty much everything about it. And obviously he couldn't do it himself. You need like the rest of us. But if it was anyone who didn't have the same sort of like ambitions as Paul, we probably wouldn't be where we are now.
You know, we've had dozens of people on the show, and you know they all get on with Paul, and Paul can have rapport with all of them. And you know, his passion for this as well is, you know, it's incredible. And if any of that wasn't the case, then this show wouldn't be as good as it is.
Nick Ewer is available soon to do ZoomDown from home. I'm only kidding, Paul. No, you do a great job, to be honest with you.
We have Stephen Reed as our kind of resident statistician. He's our so we always invite him for the finals to get a statistical analysis.
Oh, excellent.
Paul, just to
Do you
clarify,
say testicle analysis?
Oh, yeah, it did sound like testicle.
No, I didn't know. You must have been the internet.
Yeah, that's not on the spreadsheet.
Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've had far too many testicles in this series. We need fewer. We need better balance next year.
Right.
So.
You're definitely right.
Nice having a few extra stats, I think, in the finals. I think it really adds to the occasion. And Stephen seems to love it as well. And it's his stats have been absolutely amazing.
I quite like doing the stats. I'm a bit of a stat junkie, to be honest. I was going through the wiki. I thought, let's put everything in a spreadsheet. Let's do some maths to it, see what comes out. And thus the role of statistician was born.
You know, obviously he's not part of the regular team, but he's dropped in for the finals, and it's been good. Especially there's a lot of sports fans in the Countdown community, I think, and fans of sports statistics. So that sort of side of it, where you get like the statistical breakdown of ZoomDown as well, has been really interesting. So I don't think we should overlook Stephen's contribution as well.
And I've had a lot of fun doing it. I've even been invited to a couple of the series finals. I've got to meet Susie Dent again. That was always nice.
Much appreciated, and keep it up, Stephen. Good work.
A lot of people on the Countdown community discover the wiki last. It was the very first thing I discovered.
I mean, to have an equivalent that the main show has, to have a wiki after its page with, you're going, what was that game, and what was the score, and what were the maxes in that game, and they're all there. They're all there in exquisite, you know, excruciating detail, if you like that kind of thing.
Anyone who knows me outside of Countdown, you know, I do this sort of thing for cricket as well. You know, I do cricket scoring in the summer. So it's sort of borne out the same thing, really, taking down what is effectively the table of results for the game. It's very difficult to explain because it sounds like the most boring thing in the world. Oh, I'm just writing the Countdown summary or the ZoomDown summary. It sort of means a lot to me, more than it really should.
We owe Reese a great deal of thanks for that. So thank you very much, Reese, and keep it up. It's been wonderful.
There's not very many recappers left. It's fine art, shall I say. It's an exact science. There's a lot of stuff to get wrong. There's a lot of stuff I do get wrong. But it's something that means a lot to me more than it probably should.
Late last year, we decided to sort of increase our Twitter presence. Thankfully, we have a man on the inside, Tom Stevenson, who has done an amazing job. Half of our new traffic comes from Twitter, that just says it all.
All the team do such a great job, and it's been absolutely amazing to watch it. So
everyone is so good at their jobs. It just keeps the show running. It's a bit of a cliche, but this show just couldn't happen without them.
At times, it's dangerously close to a professionally run outfit.
The fact that you've got this group of people who give up 2 evenings a week to put this show on for everyone, and they make it look easy, and you know it isn't. That is fantastic.
A man who needs no introduction, I suppose, but we'll give him one anyway, but it's Damien Eady. Interesting, the juxtaposition of putting you in the contestant's chair for first time in how many years?
I tell you something, it feels really weird, and I won't say I'm mentally nervous, but I can definitely feel this. It's just odd.
It's odd. It's kind of role reversal. Yeah, it's good.
It certainly is. Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah, I like that sort of mild sense of discomfort of, you know, winging it. That's the kind of, you're living on edge. So
what you can't see, Paul, is that I'm actually sat on a commode here.
So am I, man. It's a swiveling one. Yeah. It's a kind of a deluxe model I got.
That was fun because I've always thought Hyper doesn't get enough love. So to sort of highlight that for other people to watch was great. I think that was the first time we got Damien on screen, so that was like quite a coup. We were happy with that. And it's always great to see Innes, because you don't see much of him nowadays, but he's always been like one of my favourite people in the community. So any opportunity to hang out with him is great.
Innes Carson, how are you, Innes?
Very glad to be here. Thanks for asking for me. It's the first time I've played any kind of countdown really for years now, so it'll be an interesting experiment to see how much my lack of youthful agility, see what difference that makes.
It was a hyper special. Paul emailed me saying, would you like to appear on this hyper special? We've got the best hyper players to have ever played the game, and what was unspoken is he said, we need a fourth player. Come on. And I thought, why not? Even though I had to play Innes Carson, another legend of hyper, I gave a good account of myself, I think.
Buzz. Oh,
that was very close. Did I hear two at once there? Who was that? I couldn't tell them apart.
They were.
I thought Innes just, but I could be wrong. What did we think?
I think they were absolutely together.
Will we leave it for the chat and let's see what the chat thinks? Damien, what's your vote on that? Who was first?
I think it was Callum.
You heard? Okay, I
think that the high-pitched voice came in before the deep voice. So.
Right. Okay. Let's just see in the chat.
One person has said Innes, but everyone else appears to have said Callum.
I think I'll defer to Callum in that case.
He's a very humble chap, and we will get him a trophy that he deserves.
Buzz.
Elliot.
62,208.
Very well played.
Oh,
very well played.
Buzz.
Elliot.
1761.
Brilliant.
Buzz.
Yes, Elliot.
3864. Buzz.
Elliot.
651.
151.
Buzz.
Elliot.
27.
Had we any doubt?
Buzz.
Elliot.
9408.
On 5 seconds, that is just bloody ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I was an unfortunate victim of his brilliance in the first special. And it's just so relentless to play against him because he doesn't really make any mistakes. He has to be a very, very unique puzzle indeed for him to be tripped up on it.
I just think Elliot's the best player ever at numbers specifically. I mean, he's one of the best overall, but I think in the domain of numbers, there's no one who can really beat him. And getting to showcase that on the numbers special was pretty awesome.
You see him solve these massive calculations in seconds. It's demoralizing, really, but it's also very admirable as well. He's got such a great brain.
It was just so fun to actually have that there. I mean, every aspect of it just flowed really nicely. You know, you sat there and you could just nerd out over something that you're passionate about over episodes. And, you know, to actually win it, especially, really felt quite amazing. You know, I just sat back and I thought, wow, I've actually won this thing that I've been so involved in and so invested in and just really enjoyed. Even the touch, like, you know, replacing the conundrums with arithmanums and, you know, the little aspects like that, having the special variants on there, which must have been a bit of a pain for the overlayers when you've got, you know, spoilage numbers or hyper numbers or whatever, and they're frantically typing them in. And I think it's really good that ZoomDown is incorporating these different variants in, you know, for people who might have slightly different tastes and enjoy different things. And, you know, maybe there's people who are particularly good at one aspect and they get their chance to shine there. You know, like maybe, you know, somebody might not be too good at the regular version, but in the numberist, they're really, really hot.
To have 2 of your specials won by Callum Todd, fabulous. And to have the other 2 specials won by Elliot Meller. I mean, we are coming down. It's reigning champions. It's amazing.
I loved the bear music, and I didn't get it until I'd actually seen the episode with bear in it. You know, but it made me laugh so much. And then, of course, I saw it came up. But whoever did bear, that was just, it was funny.
It was really funny.
It was.
It's not as easy as it looks, really.
It was great fun participating in that, to be fair. I'd love to see it carry on a bit longer, maybe. Hopefully it'll go on for more than one episode. Hopefully it's not just a one-off special, because it was very fun.
Damien obviously being a huge fan from the start. Day 2, I like to say, because day 1 he was slagging us, but that's Damien.
Oh yeah, Damien obviously himself. I mean, he is the big boy of Countdown, but he's also like, he's on after us all the time. So sorry, Damien, you're not as special.
I really like the fact that Damien is so closely involved with the community, especially, and I've talked to him a bit after I won. He was sort of saying congratulations and being really, really nice to me, and I just think the fact that they are actually invested in the community as well shows that there's a lot of love that goes into not just ZoomDown, but the show itself, and it speaks really highly of the whole thing.
Damien, yeah, I like Damien. He's bought me a couple of pints over the years. Really good guy. Yeah, I'd like to see more of him on it.
Damien's cheeky old devil in the chat. He keeps saying to me that I ought to go on. I'm like, ooh.
Got the sense that he really loves his countdown, and that he was very happy to help promote ZoomDown.
Damien's a good sport, and he's foul-mouthed, and he's crude, but no more than the rest of us, really. And I think he plays it very well, and he livens up the chat.
Damien obviously used to be a good player, but you don't really see obviously much of him on that side. So this was a chance for him to show everyone that obviously he's still got the game.
I'd not really known anything of Damien, having not been a contestant, but he's I quite like it when he's in the chat, because I'm one of these really immature people that likes to watch Countdown still for the rude words, and you don't want to be too mature amongst everybody that's really quite clever. And so I like that when Damien's in the chat, it's probably him that's going to be the most horrifically inappropriate compared to anybody else. Andy Platt and I do try, but it's quite hard to keep up with Damien. So I do like that it brings a little bit of humour rather than just a load of, I got a 7 and I got an 8 and here's the words. It's quite nice to have a little bit of fun in there as well, really. So I do quite like it when Damien's in, because he appears to be quite filthy, and that's appreciated.
At first I wondered whether he was just a parody account. And then I realised, no, this is actually him, and that is Damien all over. I think that became very obvious when we saw him on the screen, allegedly in shorts, but we'll leave that to the camera.
Damien, he just has a lot of fun in the chat. I know it can be on the edge sometimes, but I think because we all know him, I think we just take it all as fun because we know him. And he can take, he don't just give it, he can take it as well.
Damien, he's a bit of a joker. It can be, but you have to learn to take him with a pinch of salt, even though he does take the mickey out of me quite a bit.
I do remember Damien saying in the chat that he felt I wanted shooting for picking 5,000 a Y.
Damien, I think, has been great. He's been like ZoomDown's knight in shining armor, with the fact that he's given us such great support, and that because of his support, you were able to get Susie on. Was brilliant.
Damien is game for a laugh. Like, you know, Damien is really, really game for that. And I suppose it wasn't really a surprise to see him getting involved with it, having a laugh, actually being integrated within that, because, you know, Damien is Damien.
Amazed, really. You know, I kind of laughed at Paul a bit at the beginning when he talked about his ambitions, and the man's a dreamer. It's like, yeah, Paul. But yeah, he's brought it through, and it's all happened. And I think a lot of that's down to Damien getting involved and being interested in it.
Yeah, it's great. Definitely with Damien and Susie, people whose names are like officially tied to Countdown, the TV show. It sort of gives an air of credibility to ZoomDown that we've got these people on.
I think it's absolutely incredible, and it's a testament to the hard work we've done and the incredible work Paul's put into this production. You'd never think, starting out on that pilot episode with just a few of us not really knowing what we were doing something completely different, that we'd get to the level where we've got actual like celebrities on our little Zoom stream. It's just amazing.
I think it's incredible. I have to admit, I was sceptical sort of with Paul. The idea was first sort of hypothesised on the Elvis Facebook group. I was like, whoa, what? He's getting very ahead of himself here. But I've got to eat humble pie here.
Getting to have Alan Saldana for the final was something that I thought was pretty amazing, and I thought probably couldn't be topped, but it was.
Alan Saldana, on the other hand, I think was just down to the purely the tenacity of probably, I don't know who arranged it, probably Paul Anderson.
Alan Saldana as well, when he sort of came in the final. That was obviously a great chance to see how it had changed from then, from different eras as well.
Alan was probably one of the first names, well, actually, the second name I remember from Countdown. The first one was the Series 4 winner, Brian Hudson, who is a member of my son's bowling team in Stockport. Alan was one of the main names I remember after that.
I remember Alan Saldana from the 1980s as a wee young lad. He had to have a few bits so he could see the monitors because he was too small at the time.
He seems like a really, really good guy as well, and a bit of a Countdown legend in his own time.
Alan was just a piece of class, pure class, and a proper Countdown legend. Tracy and Mark and Leslie and all those, they remember him from years ago, and he was, as a little boy even, he exuded class. But to see him as an adult, he's a fine man, and he's someone we should all look up to.
You'd never have thought Alan Saldana would come onto this, and he did.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed you managed to dig Alan Saldana out of nowhere for the final the first time.
Alan Saldana, I didn't expect a response. I thought I'll fire him off a message here and see what he says. But such a cool man, very, very, very cool man. And my original Countdown hero, it was great to hear back from him, and it was a real fillip.
Alan, he's probably just the strongest example of the effect that ZoomDown's had, I think, as well as pulling in all the various elements of the community that are currently active. It has sort of drawn people back into the game who've not really been involved in the community for a long time. Obviously, Alan's the strongest example of that, because I don't think anyone's heard from him for God knows how many years. But there's others as well who've come back on for ZoomDown and stayed around. So like Matthew Brockwell, I've not spoken to him for years. He's on Actress regularly now. Noel McIlvany, it's sort of, other than a few forum posts, he'd mostly dropped out of the community as of the last couple of years. Now he's back playing games on Actress and stuff. We've got Jonathan Rawlinson on. I've not heard from him for years. So it's great that it's bringing all these people back into the fold that had sort of moved on. Maybe not so great for them. Maybe they'd turned the page, started a new chapter in their life, and now they're stuck back with Countdown. But it's good for us to see them all again. Each success basically sort of empowered me and emboldened me to try to go, well, yeah, why not? If we can get Alan Saldana, why can't we get Susie Dent? Why can't I say to Damien, go and ask Susie? If you don't ask, you don't get. You cannot have a fear of rejection. You just have to try. The worst that they can say is no. The worst that they can probably say is no, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's testament to ZoomDown's growing popularity that these people who are so closely associated with the TV show want to now be part of this small-time YouTube project. It's grown into something bigger.
Especially from seeing kind of Alan and Susie, you could really see their genuine enthusiasm for the show. I guess especially Susie, you wouldn't necessarily know that from watching the show alone, but when you see it on ZoomDown, you can tell that, for her to come on and do that, it was really nice.
I think if you've got Damien Eadie, Alan Saldana, and Susie Dent appearing on your show, you're doing something right. It really boosts ZoomDown's credentials. It's not ZoomDown is more than just a bunch of people on a Zoom call. It's something that the people who make the show are aware of.
I think it's really good that, first of all, Countdown don't kind of see it as, something to be suspicious about. And having Damien in the chat is really good, I think, and especially having the ability to get, Susie on, which I just thought was fantastic. Like, when Paul first said that Susie would be on, I didn't believe him.
Everybody obviously expects a shelfie behind, and I don't. But I've got a few weird props from 8 out of 10 Cats. I'm going to show you. She's quite terrifying. So this is a pinata that Jimmy presented me with. Barbie version of me. That's as close to Barbie, obviously, as I'm ever going to get. But yeah, just lots and lots of weird props from Cats. Oh, I've got this as well, which is possibly my favourite. This was from a Sean Locke mascot sketch. Rachel got Beware Married, and I got Beware. I'm the only one that takes them home. Everyone else just kind of leaves them behind. But I think, oh no, actually, I kind of want that.
Susie, she was the star of the final. I mean, she's such a reluctant star, and she's probably the most famous shy person you can think of.
I knew she'd be she was up for that kind of thing, but I was still quite skeptical about her getting on ZoomDown until the whole correspondence with Paul and Damien happened, and I actually saw it happen.
I guess I was probably just a tiny bit worried that the final would become more about Susie than the contestants, but actually it balanced really well, and I thought it was really nice. It was definitely about Callum and Rob and their game, and Rob winning, and Susie there was just the icing on the cake. It was fantastic. So yeah, really loved it.
I remember I was so nervous through the entire Zoom call with Susie, and I'm not really sure why, because like I've been on telly with her enough times, but just the fact that was actually happening was still pretty cool. So I think the fact that, especially because it was near Christmas and everyone's jolly and whatever, the fact that I think that finished off the year perfectly.
And yeah, when I heard that Paul managed to get Susie Dent onto the final of Series 2, I was thinking that's quite an impressive coup he's managed.
That's really fulfilling for me, is just to know that everyone we've had on have really enjoyed themselves, including Susie Dent.
If you told me that you'd actually get Alan Saldana and actually even Susie Dent onto the show, if you told me that when it was in its infancy, I would have absolutely laughed at you, because I thought there wasn't a cat in hell's chance you'd be able to get them on. And when you originally told me that we were going to have Susie Dent on, I actually thought it was a bit of a joke, and I thought, yeah, of course you are, you're going to have Susie Dent on there. But when it actually happened that you were getting these real stars on there, it was really quite surreal. I mean, to actually watch it, I was glued to it.
I really like that ZoomDown has the endorsement really of the actual countdown programme, because having Susie appear on it is absolutely lovely, and she also really seemed to enjoy it, and I think she felt that it was a lovely evening for her. I think she'd be quite happy to come back and do it again.
Such huge names involved, really, and I got the sense that they came out of it having enjoyed it more than they thought they were going to.
I think it's great that such esteemed members of the Countdown fraternity, so to speak, would get involved. I think that's really cool. Susie's obviously really, really chill, doesn't really see herself as a celebrity, so to maybe step down to our level is really, really cool of her to do that.
They could easily, you would think, sort of see ZoomDown as this underground thing that they don't or can't endorse because of rules with Channel 4 or whatever. But it was really nice to see that actually they'll embrace it.
That they would endorse ZoomDown. I thought it was fantastic. Susie was fantastic. It adds a bit more credibility to it. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like we are the COVID version of Countdown.
I thought it was brilliant of Susie to come on.
Susie, she's really lovely, very viewer friendly.
I don't know, I just thought the Countdown community and like the show were going to be separate entities, and then suddenly that clash of cultures where the actual people from the show are endorsing it and going on it, it was like a really positive development overall, I think, for the fact that Countdown has such a big and active fan community, that maybe this is the start of them starting to kind of, I don't know, acknowledge it more and kind of incorporate the two together. I think Paul is excellent at just going for things that other people mightn't try, like thinking outside the box of, well, let's ask this person and see, maybe they'll say yes, and more often than not, well, I don't know who he has asked who said no, but like he seems to have a very good way of like, coaxing people into doing these things.
I like to think that I entice, sort of, rather than harass. I like to sort of tempt people into appearing on these things, and thankfully everyone that I've asked has said yes.
It doesn't surprise me that they were actually up for it, but it was amazing, particularly with Susie. It was so amazing to see her on that final and think this show is actually kind of a big deal now, and yeah, so as it should be as well.
In part, having them three there has really been useful to the growth of ZoomDown as well, and yeah, it's definitely been a privilege, and we're very lucky to have seen them actually integrate within it.
To have your community there just carrying it on, I think is brilliant. That's what I mean, it will always go on because the format will just always be a winning one, I think.
To have yourself on a little show like this, and for Damien to sort of take such an interest in it, and it feels like we're all part of one big family now. Yes. I think that's important for the health of the game and the future of the game, I think.
Good evening. The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country
is not alone.
ZoomDown came about in extraordinary circumstances during some very hard times. Some of us were lucky and didn't suffer too much in these times, but others were not so fortunate.
In lockdown, everyone's daily routine changed, and so people found new things that they do in a daily routine. I actually started going for a walk and having exercise because the government suggested it, for example. And one of the things that I had added to the daily routine or weekly routine is, it's Monday or Thursday, it's 8 p.m. Okay, I'll watch today's ZoomDown.
Everything I liked got cancelled this year, like with most people. All the Scrabble events were cancelled. It was just, there was nothing to look forward to.
First lockdown in March 2020 was particularly hard on me, in that the lockdown affected me more than I would say the virus probably ever could have done. For me, the lockdown took away 95% of everything I absolutely had in my life at that point.
When first lockdown came in, sort of March, April, it was great that ZoomDown came in, and it sort of just added a little bit of, because I was off work for a couple of days, so just sort of a couple of months, and it sort of added a bit of sort of structure to the week, to the day, really, sort of something to have something at a fixed time.
Yeah, it did. It was a kind of a waypoint in the middle of nothing. Through most of lockdown, the first lockdown, I was on furlough, and then I got made redundant, so it was all a bit hit and miss,
The weeks were turning into months, whereas this was sort of a regular thing going through lockdown, through the first lockdown, and then on now into our third.
Yes, it helped me get through lockdown, especially on a Monday and a Thursday night. I normally come in the chat, and I'm doing other work at the same time on the other computer, so I just kind of glance over.
It reinvigorated my interest in actress, so I've entered the Everything Counts tourney, which is good fun.
ZoomDown has been something I've really looked forward to doing. Like most people, I've had very little social contact.
It's been a focus. It's been something that I looked forward to every Monday and Thursday, and all the days in between, because ZoomDown is very much a 7 days a week job.
I've really enjoyed watching it. Don't so much like the fact that it clashes with Monday night quizzes, but I've been watching the Thursday one quite regularly, and it's been a lot of fun, whether I'm playing or whether I'm just chatting a little rubbish in the chat with the likes of Tracy and Damien. It's been very enjoyable, and you can be very proud of what you've achieved.
Having ZoomDown there was at least one good thing in the midst of just nothing. I would have a lot of admiration for anyone like Paul and his team who did stuff like that during lockdown, who thought of creative ways of making lockdown more bearable for people.
There was a month in April 2020 where I wasn't at work that month, so I did start to experience what I know a lot of people will have had, where the week starts to lose its shape, like every day is a Sunday sort of thing. So to have ZoomDown on at regular intervals, so it's not just on at random times. It was on at the same time on a Monday and a Thursday every week. It sort of helped give a structure to the week, which was good.
I'm very fortunate that during lockdown I've managed to keep both of my businesses going. One of them did have to move online because I'm a compassionate person. I like that it's given other people something to do to make them feel more connected to other people. It's kind of weird that after watching the show since the first episode of the Countdown, to really feel more connected and probably go on about Countdown even more now than I used to, because of ZoomDown, because that has made me feel part of a community, even just as a viewer. It's just lovely to be connected to all those players.
There were two things that kind of got me through 2020. One of them was, I mentioned, I finished my first novel last year, and the other one was appearing on ZoomDown and training for ZoomDown.
Something to watch, something to have a schedule to, in a time that was very, very difficult for me.
I've been quite fortunate in that the lockdown hasn't really affected me as much as it might have done other people. If I can't watch new episodes of Countdown, at least I have ZoomDown.
It is a product of lockdown, and it's certainly helping me get through lockdown.
Especially at the beginning, I had a lot of time. I hadn't started a new job yet, so there wasn't much to do. And then I think at this point when all kind of major professional sports stopped, there was really not a lot happening. So I think ZoomDown was actually probably the only kind of thing you'd almost find worth watching. I think ZoomDown and the Tiger King are probably the things that got most people, a lot of people through lockdown.
Yeah, ZoomDown definitely helped me get through lockdown. I think for everyone, especially in lockdown, people just need something to look forward to in the evenings, and ZoomDown fills that void perfectly. Especially in the time when Countdown was off air, it really filled a void to give people something to base their week around, almost as a player and a viewer.
Even when ZoomDown's not on, everyone's talking about ZoomDown, and even outside of the Countdown community as well. Like some of my mates got into watching ZoomDown. I never thought they'd be interested in Countdown, but they started watching ZoomDown. They really enjoyed it, and it gives them an insight into what the community is like, and something for everyone to talk about and socialise about, even in these times.
Kids enjoyed watching it as well. So as soon as you got sort of 10 to 8 on a Monday or a Thursday, they soon remember it's sort of 8 o'clock, ZoomDown, and like, oh, Paul Anderson's back here again. I've been force feeding them Countdown for a few years, but obviously this was a bit fresher thing, so it sort of made them engage a little bit better than the sort of normal Countdown show. So it was good for us all as a family, really.
It's nice seeing ZoomDown get such a good reception, seeing people actually care about a thing that I'm like a part of. I think it makes me feel that I've actually done something vaguely useful over this time, because I haven't really, but
it's shown people that Countdown over Zoom is easily possible, and while it can't replicate, the actual co-events, it's the best thing we've got at the moment. We never know, without ZoomDown, those sort of Zoom sessions might not have happened, so I might not have got into them. So yeah, it's definitely helped me. It's definitely helped my lockdown experience indirectly through that.
Because we don't get to talk to people in the real world nowadays, you know, to go out and see people. Having that, bit of social contact with someone once or twice a week is just absolutely vital. And whether that's being on the stream or in the chat, you need to talk to people, you need to see your friends. And we'll have moments where Paul will schedule, oh, I've got so-and-so on this episode. And you're thinking, oh, God, I love that person so much. Can't wait to see them.
Lockdown has coincided with us leaving Dublin, moving to Galway, moving to Connemara. Hopefully by season 3 now we'll be moving into our new home. Just to be able to help and to give people a little bit of light in these dark times has been great. So
the thing is, I don't think any of us, except for maybe Paul, expected it to get anywhere near the level it is now. I mean, I don't think even Paul expected that, let's be real. I don't see why it has to stop anytime soon, even if the COVID situation gets better.
Maybe we'll get some more celebrity guests on in the future. We can but hope. Following on from Susie, you'd love to see maybe Rachel, Nick, Colin, or some other Countdown regulars like Rufus. I'm not going to say Giles. Or Jay. Dad just heard me saying that bit from the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows we don't like Jay Rayner.
The co-events are great, but logistically people can't get to them all, and that probably means they don't meet up with their sort of Countdown actor as friends as much as they would like to. So I definitely think ZoomDown will still have a place in the post-corona world.
I think it's one of those things we're going to have to wait and see, really, what the future holds. At the moment, it's going strong and people love it and we love doing it. And, we'll carry on as long as that's the case.
Quite promising, really, because we're only 2 series in. We've got the endorsement of the proper Countdown show. And I think that because when some of the ex-players went on the TV show, they were able to mention ZoomDown.
The future's looking bright, I think. There's no shortage of contestants who want to go on.
If ZoomDown is getting guests like Alan Saldana and Susie Dent and Damien Eady, the producer, as part of the show already, it's kind of scary to think where it might end up in the future. The player base has jumped on it like wildfire, bringing up contestants from the past and sort of reinvigorating old flames.
If it becomes sufficiently popular, you can have it kind of followed by people worldwide. We already have some fans who have appeared from Australia or North America, and if they spread it on, I think you get like a kind of an international fan base. And from then, I don't know, live shows in Vegas, could be anything.
If ZoomDown is still going as strongly as it is, when the world's got back to normal, that will be the proof that it properly has taken off. It hasn't replaced Countdown; it's alongside Countdown. What it has replaced is co-events. At some point in the future, co-events will return, and I think ZoomDown won't then take a back seat, and I think it'll be hand in hand with the co-events. The Colin Spoon that people want to win, the ZoomDown trophy.
It's obviously grown very quickly, and I think you can sort of continue on that trajectory. Nearly everyone's online now, so there's no reason why sort of anyone can sort of take part and sort of play against similar abilities.
If you'd have asked me a year ago what the future was hold for ZoomDown, I'd have thought, maybe it'd have been one series and then done. What its purpose has expanded. The remit of ZoomDown has expanded in real time during the course of it. Hopefully we can bring back some more people from the community who've not been around for a while. In terms of celebrity guests, I mean, we've had Damien, had Susie. I suppose Rachel would be great. We've not had the host of Countdown on yet, so if Mark Deeks was want to appear, then that would be great after he's made host.
There's going to be an insurrection. I think that Callum Todd and Thomas Carey are going to lock you out of the channel, take it over, and make shows about bears, rodents, and hags. That's the future.
Or maybe Rachel might appear on ZoomDown one day. Who knows?
Casual players who don't feel they're good enough, maybe some of them can be empowered to come on the show.
Paul Anderson is going to be playing rather than hosting one of the games, which will be compulsory viewing, I would say, for all sorts of reasons.
Well, I have to play Zubair Patel. We're pretty even in our matches. He's a much better letters player than me. Hopefully I can get him on the numbers, but I'm hoping he's going to be a little bit nervous, maybe facing the ZoomDown host. That's my strategy, that maybe he will be.
It's exceeded expectations so much so far. Like when it started off in its infancy, and you thought, it was just going to be a few games between a few friends, and it was being streamed to YouTube, but you wasn't actually sure if anyone was watching it at that point. And it's grown almost exponentially. You've managed to get, Susie Dent to be the Lex in the final of a show. Like at this stage, I don't think I'd be surprised by anything. You could probably get Queen Elizabeth on the show, and I probably wouldn't be surprised by that either. Hopefully, maybe we can get Rachel Riley on a numbers special or something like that.
The future looks pretty bright. Things have been going up and up, and people are getting very excited about it. And there's a real community feel that has all kinds of good directions it can go in.
You get to speak to people that perhaps you knew existed in the community, but you didn't really have the confidence, or you hadn't really thought about contacting them before, and you get to speak to new people on the back of that and form new relationships.
You had people who played a lot of Apterous. You had people who liked to chat and talk on the forum, and then you had the Facebook group as well. Obviously, there was also co-events, but that sort of drew from all corners. Maybe a bit more the Apterous side. Something we really wanted to do was try and bring all those people together. ZoomDown sort of, ironically, really has become its own distinct part of the community as well. So if you were now say, what are the main constituent blocks of the community, you would have to list ZoomDown as one of them. It's like the watering hole to which all the different animals come. Not that I'm calling Countdown as animals, but it's, people aren't in their own little herds and tribes and packs. It's everyone comes together to ZoomDown to mix together.
Particularly with 2020 being so bad, it just made it even better because it was such a highlight for me. And it's generally going to be one of the best things I've done. And to do well in it as well, to come out with my head held high, and it was genuinely amazing.
It's kind of given me confidence maybe in the future if I do apply to go on Countdown. I had said I wasn't going to go on, but I think ZoomDown's given me that buzz back to possibly reapply, but I'm going to wait while all this madness is over in the world.
It's fun. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I'm looking forward to having another go and hopefully redeeming myself.
Just a group of people who love Countdown, who've gotten together and they happen to have the right skill set to make this amazing ZoomDown show. Long may it continue.
Yeah, a pleasure to be part of the whole thing.
World domination.
I've got to give Paul and the team all the credit to create something that has been so well appreciated, that you get the likes of Damien, Alan Saldana and Susie Dent on. It's just a fabulous achievement. They deserve a lot of credit for that.
When you asked me to do the podcast, and one of our original mission statements was to unite this community, we saw that people were drinking in different watering holes, to use your earlier metaphor. And I think we've managed to get them all drinking at the same watering hole now, and I think that's no small achievement. So, well done us.
if it can just continue as it is now for another X amount of seasons, then that in itself is a massive success. But I definitely wouldn't bet against it growing and becoming something even more than it already is.
Really, the best way of putting it is a quotation from my favourite film. Where we're going, we don't need roads.